Welcome to today's video where I'm going to break down why you are having such a hard time speaking articulately at work and how you can start training yourself to speak clearly and concisely so that other people start listening. So first, let's dive right in. Why is it that some people seem to speak so eloquently and articulately and just spur the moment think of their thoughts with clarity, while other people seem to ramble and go on this long journey where you don't understand where you're going and where you're ending up and what the main point is? Why does this happen? So there's three main reasons that we're going to talk about. The first reason why some people struggle to speak articulately and why people tend to ramble is because they jump right into an answer without taking a moment to think about what their answer is. You see, for many people, when they're asked a question, the default response is literally to respond. It's to say the first thing that comes to mind so that you answer. Essentially, for many people, it's intimidating to take a moment to actually gather your thoughts. There's a self imposed expectation to speak and to answer immediately. But you need to be able to give yourself permission to let that expectation go. You see, if you are jumping into an answer without taking a moment to process what your answer is, it's almost like a fallacy of sorts. You see, people jump in with an answer and they think, I'm going to answer, and while I'm answering, I'm going to figure out what my main point is, and then I'll get to it. And so it's this unclear path that they ramble on, and no one knows what the point is. And the reason that this doesn't work is because you have to think about what you are going to say while you're also thinking about what your main point is. It's double the work. It's like, imagine you were cooking dinner and you were cooking a dinner with multiple dishes involved. Maybe you have a pasta going, maybe you've got some sauteed veggies going, maybe you've got like a steak that needs to be cooked. And each of these dishes has a different cooking time and finishes cooking at a different time if you start all together. So if you are jumping into an answer and assuming that you will figure it out as you go, it's the equivalent of starting your pasta, your steak, and your veggies all at the same time and then figuring out how to time it so that the food is ready at the same time for dinner. Instead, what ends up happening is the veggies are done much quicker, the steak ends up resting for too long and getting cold, and the pasta is overcooked. So you need to be able to give yourself permission to take a moment to think about what your point is, what your opinion is, what your thoughts are, and then jump into an answer. Now, a moment doesn't have to be excruciatingly long. That's enough. It can be a pause that lasts 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 seconds. You see, when someone asks you a question and you take a moment to answer, very rarely will they actually get mad at you for gathering your thoughts and answering. So give yourself that grace. Simply taking a moment will already change the way that you are answering a question in and of itself. Okay? So that's the first reason. Now, the second reason why many people end up rambling and not speaking articulately is because there is a fear of judgment or a fear of rejection. It's essentially the fear of saying the wrong thing. And so if this is something that you resonate with, again, take a moment to reflect on whether this is really self-imposed. Look around you. Look at your colleagues. Look at the people you work with. Look at the people in your life. Do they say things that are 100% correct 100% of the time? Or rather, are other people giving answers that may be wrong that they're okay giving? And are you perhaps the only one that you see that is having that self-imposed pressure to answer in a way that is perfect when that expectation is held by no one but you? Okay? So if you are scared of how other people will respond, that self-imposed pressure adds so much stress that you end up over-explaining. You end up doubting your answer. You end up adding all of these supplemental things that aren't needed, all this extra fluff to try and beef up your answer when really it makes it worse. Let's go back to our pasta example. Imagine you're cooking a nice Alfredo pasta, but it's your first time cooking Alfredo pasta, so you're wrong. So you're worried that you're going to do it wrong, and you're worried what other people will think. So rather than sticking to a classic recipe, you might start adding Italian seasoning and Parmesan cheese and a little bit of extra milk and maybe some water and maybe some chicken stock and all these other ingredients that don't belong in the dish that just ruin the taste and the quality. Don't do that with your answers. If you feel like you are scared to give the wrong answer, odds are you're adding too much fluff that is making your answer wrong. And then you're looping through the self fulfilling prophecy where you're scared. You end up doing it, which reinforces your fear. So then you end up doing it more, which then reinforces the fear. So you have to break that cycle. And it starts by giving yourself the permission to remove so much of the fluff that you're currently adding in. Now, the third reason why so many people end up rambling is because they want to give their justifications before they give their actual answer. So let's say you asked me, hey, Christina, what's your favorite dinner dish? And I started rambling about, you know what, I like things that are tasty, but I also like things that are decadent, but I also like a mix of vegetables with carbs, and I like things that are high in cheese, but maybe low in fat, and all these details that should come after the answer. Instead, if I start with the exact answer itself with the main point and then provide the justification, it ends up being so much clearer. So if you ask me, hey, what's your favorite dinner dish? And I say, you know what, I really love pasta. If I was to get specific, I really love pasta that's super creamy and cheesy and has some veggies in it just for that balance. That just makes so much sense naturally. So pay attention to the answers that you're giving. Are you giving all the justification before giving your actual main point? And if you are, swap them out and you'll see a difference. Okay, now that we've covered why you may be experiencing rambling, anxiety, or just unclear answers, let's get into 4 practical tips for you to actually start changing the way that you speak. Now, the first, as I already mentioned, is forcing yourself to take a pause. Just like that. It doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to be scary. Only if you make it. Notice the people around you and how often they pause. I'm a huge fan of recommending role models for your communication style because, as a social psychologist, I can attest that social influences matter. The people around you matter. The way that the people around you communicate influences the way that you communicate. So if you're not consciously noticing other people take a pause before giving their answer, it will make it feel that much more intimidating to you. Instead, if you make it a point to find role models of other individuals who speak well, you will start to notice the micro moments of pausing, of thinking, of picking the right word. And it's in those micro moments that you see noticeably different behaviors that you can then implement for yourself. So start with the pause. If the pause feels scary, go out of your way to find, again, role models. It could be YouTube individuals, podcasters, people at work, your boss, your supervisor. Look for those positive examples because the more that you normalize them, the more that you realize it's okay to take a pause, the easier it will get for you to do so. And the more that you do it, the better you'll get at organizing your thoughts in those 2-3 seconds. Now, the second tip that I have for you, and this is my favorite one, is to practice and rehearse what you could have said better out loud when you're alone. Let me explain this. Have you ever had an argument with someone, maybe a disagreement, maybe a mild disagreement, and you left the argument and for hours, if not days, you ruminated on that disagreement and you kept thinking, oh, I should have said this. Oh, if only I said this, it would have made my argument that much better. Oh, this is what I will say next time. Most of us, if not all of us, have had that experience. And the thing is, it's actually a very effective technique if you do it outside of arguments. So, either at the end of the day or throughout the day, pick moments when you're alone, such as in the shower, maybe cooking, driving is a good one, and reflect on the moments where you said things and practice saying it better. So maybe you had a team meeting and you pushed yourself out of your comfort zone and you spoke up and you said something. And now you're going to take what you said and reflect on it. How could you have said it faster? Could you have taken a pause, or gathered your thoughts, and then articulated them? Could you have taken out any of the fluff and unnecessary details? Think about it and then say it out loud. The more that you practice actually speaking concisely out loud, the easier it will get. Think of it as a communication muscle, just like your bicep. The more that you practice it, the stronger it will get, and the noticeably or the visibly bigger it will get for others to notice as well. Your communication style is the exact same thing. You want to be a better communicator, it starts by practicing. You'll notice the changes first, and then other people will notice as well. And then just like when you see someone who's really fit and you go, wow, they must work out. Wow, they must be healthy. People are going to do that for you with your communication style. Wow, they're so articulate. Wow, they speak so well. Wow, how did they get to this point? It's possible for you too, but it takes practice, and it takes practicing the skills and the micro moments that make a difference. Okay? So reflect on what you could have said better and then practice saying it out loud. Now, my third tip for you is to journal daily. I know journaling is controversial. Not everyone is a fan, and that's okay. But hear me out just for a minute. The benefit of journaling, either freestyle journaling where you just go ahead and write all of your thoughts on a piece of paper, or guided journals where there's a prompt, there's a question, and you answer the question. The beauty in journaling is that you get a chance to take your thoughts and externalize them, put them on this piece of paper, and read them back. That process alone helps you consciously become aware of your thoughts, and it helps you start to notice patterns. That's the importance of journaling. It's not just to get your thoughts out, it's to notice how you are thinking, how your personal train of thought works, and what the patterns for you are. Some people see the forest, some people see the trees. Some people are very analytical, some people are very abstract. Are you aware of what your preferred style of thinking is? Are you aware of what your default style of thinking is? Understanding how you think helps you understand how to plan your thoughts in a way that matches that. And if, for example, you see the forest and you don't see the individual trees, if you're a very big picture person and you struggle to pay attention to the details, well, then you understand what area you need to work on that may be contributing to this rambling when you don't know what you're talking about because you have this inability or this lack of skill to see it that way. So identifying the patterns by something as simple as journaling is the process that will help you improve and not necessarily the journaling itself. Okay, got that out the way. Now my last tip for you to speak more concisely is to use my MPS framework. MPS. This stands for main point followed by the supporting bullet points. Okay, here's what I mean. When you're asked a question, you're going to pause. You're going to organize your thoughts similar to if you were thinking of an outline. Do you recall back in high school when you had to write an essay? You were always asked to come up with an outline first. What is the argument? What are the 2 to 3 points that will go under the argument? What is the next argument? What are the 2 to 3 points that will go under that argument? Learn to organize your thoughts in that way for yourself first, in that 2 to 3 second gap while you pause, so that then you can say your main points and then give the overview of your 2 to 3 supporting points. You don't need to include all the additional details. You don't need to include all the justifications. You're leaving that for the follow-up questions. So let me give you an example. Imagine your manager asks you, on this particular project, what is your opinion? Should we do it this way or that way? Well, you could take a moment to organize your thoughts real quick and to say, okay, the pros and cons of doing it this way are, okay, the pros and cons of doing it this way are, okay, and then very quickly make a decision that can say, based on my analysis, I think this will be best because it has more pros and cons, right? It's like just like a general outline. Then they will ask you follow-up questions, and that's when you can get into more details. But if you were to start the question with, you know what, this path actually would be good because of this reason and this, but this wouldn't work so well, and this wouldn't work so well, and this could work, but I'm not sure about this. And then if I consider this path, this could be very beneficial, but and everyone's tuned out. So get to your main point first so that everyone understands where you're going next. Add your supporting points so they have an outline of what you're thinking. And that structure alone will make it so much clearer for you to understand where you are going. But it'll also make it so much clearer for your audience, for the people listening to you, to understand what your thought process is and where you're going with it. The reason rambling is so annoying for people is because no one knows what the main point is. They don't know if the main point has been made, if the main point's coming up, if anything that's being said is important or not. It's just a hazy cloud of information. But when you can give people a structured outline from the get-go, it makes them organize their thoughts so much better, which makes you seem more like an expert, more confident, more credible. So do the MPS framework. The main point first, and then the supporting outline. All right. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. It helps me continue to make videos like this for you. Comment down below with which point you're going to try first, and let me know if you have any requests for the type of communication skills you need some support with. Check the description below for some additional videos like how to remove your filler words, which is a good one, as well as an online course that I've created specifically for leadership and communication development. So whether you are a current leader that needs a little bit of support or an aspiring leader that's getting ready for an upcoming promotion you're aiming for, check the course out. It'll be perfect for you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.